Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Preimesberger, editor of eWEEK. Thanks for joining us today for our latest segment of eWEEK eSpeaks. It's a series of conversations with IT leaders in different segments of the business. Our interviewee today is Justin Davis, CEO of Spectrum Labs. Justin, welcome to our show today.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
And Justin, are you CEO and founder of the company also, or what?
CEO and co-founder. So my
Co-founder.
co-founder is Josh Newman, who I've worked with previously at the last company that we worked at together as well.
Great. Tell me a little bit about your background, and then tell me about the company and what it does.
Yeah, so I've spent the last 17 years or so in tech, business development, product roles, sales engineering, solutions architecture, mainly at data-related companies. The last company that I was at with my co-founder, and about half of the employees that are at my current company, that was at a company called Crux, Krux, which about 5 years ago exited to Salesforce. At the time, what we were doing was basically large-scale data collection, data privacy, data sharing applications for some of the world's largest marketers and publishers like L'Oreal, Wall Street Journal, and so forth. And basically what that did, it gave us a tremendous amount of expertise into the way that consumer data should be protected, collected, and used for the purposes of targeting and understanding kind of user behaviors. So coming out of the 2016 election, a lot of us were trying to figure out how do we use that expertise to do some real good in the world and something that could actually solve a real world problem that we were all fairly passionate about after that election cycle. What became readily apparent was there was this whole world of trust and safety that existed out there that had never really seen advancements in AI and machine learning like some of the other industries had over the last few years. And so when you peek under the hood of what could AI potentially solve in that kind of content moderation, trust and safety sphere, what became really obvious that was the pain that any social network, dating company, gaming company, marketplace that they were experiencing wasn't really on the moderation workflow, like how do moderators respond to toxic content behaviors. The real pain that they were experiencing was just even being able to detect it in the first place with a high degree of accuracy and confidence, and then even more so across different language types and content types. And so we started to focus there about 3 years ago or so. And we just recently closed our Series A that was announced back in September, closed a round of 10 million or so, led by Graycroft and Wing Ventures and Ridge Capital. And so we basically use that to accelerate the team and grow the business since then.
Great, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Toxic content is not just identified by keywords, and it's all about sentiment, and it's about attaching
Context.
in context, right? And so I read a little bit about the company, and it looks like you're looking at context, and then you're doing other things with this AI platform. Can you tell us a little more about how it works? Because Facebook tried to put thousands of people on the job, and it's just not going to scale, right? It's not ever going to scale.
And I think what they, like many other big companies, have done really well is use those efforts to compile a whole bunch of labeled data that could, empower sophisticated algorithms that could detect nefarious things. I think they and some of the others have done a reasonably good job of developing that over the years, even though they started on the human-based side. With context, like the way that the system works is that, I'll give you an example. So in the gaming world, you need to distinguish the difference between someone planning an attack in the game, like orchestrating how do you want to beat the other team, and differentiating between something that actually has a real world impact where you may be planning an actual attack or bullying someone or threatening someone. And that distinction, that nuance is very tricky. The other example, and then I'll get into how we solve for it. The other example is like in dating apps. How do you tell the difference between sexual content and sexual aggression, like something that's actually welcomed and received by the recipient of the person that's being sexually forward? And so a lot of companies want to listen to the dating app world, want to determine the difference between those two, because they don't necessarily want to get involved in that conversation or appear to be Big Brother, but they do want to help protect their community and the folks that are on the app. in the best way possible. And so the promise of contextual AI and what we've developed at Spectrum is not just looking at a keyword or even a single message, which is what a lot of AI algorithms do now. They'll look at a single message and make a much more accurate determination around what that piece of content is, but that's still not enough. So what we've done is basically build out models that can look over an entire community, an entire conversation, an entire thread, and make a determination around what is actually happening in this conversation, whether it's one-to-one or one-to-many. Because what's important in that flow of that conversation or that thread is the response that you're getting when you distribute certain types of content. If you say something that's sarcastic, for example, how is that received? It doesn't matter that that message was sarcasm or said in jest or whatever. It really matters on how toxic or sour the receiving community receives that piece of information. And so if they turn toxic themselves or express anger or fear or sadness, that's an important marker to let the systems and the moderators know, hey, something's not right about this conversation, and it's turning in a direction that's not, either it's violating policies that we've explicitly put in place with our users and consumers and members and players and so forth, or it's a good, strong enough indication that something's not going well, and that maybe I need to monitor what's happening in that particular community.
Got it. Does Spectrum find attributes and attach them to usernames? Is that part of the way you do the work, or what?
So every company has different types of metadata available to them. If you're a gaming company, there's only so much profile data that you may have on a user. Same thing with dating apps and social networks. Social networks typically have a much more diverse set of data, as you might suspect, because people upload, most of their background into those situations. But a lot of what we see isn't really leveraging that type of metadata. It's more so like time spent on platform, total pieces of content created, what's your overall reputation within that platform itself? Like how good or poor of a member of that community are you? Like, for example, if you just signed up for a game or for a platform and you've created 100 messages and all 100 of them are toxic, that's probably a good indication that that's a troll or a bad user. If you've been on the platform for 2 years and you have one bad day and you say something because maybe you get upset in a game, is that a reason to ban a user? Like, maybe not. Maybe, stuff happens. And so that context is important for the moderator if they're going to make any sort of judgment call around what needs to happen in this community for this piece of content or against its user. All the context that they can get around that conversation and who that person is in terms of their relationship to others and their relationship to the platform itself are all important, pieces of data that historically haven't been available to moderators or trusted safety teams, and that means they're flying a little bit blind on what to do. And that's largely why you see inconsistent policies rolled out sometimes across various platforms.
Who are your customers, and how is the application distributed? Is it a cloud service only, or can it be run on a server inside of a private data center, or what?
Yeah. So for the second question, we have both an on-prem solution as well as private cloud and a SaaS-based API. So depending upon the data sensitivities and privacy of that customer, we can either deploy on-prem within their infrastructure or use a traditional API call. So we can support both of those, and we do that. We've been doing that since day one of the company. Okay. Our customers include folks like the Meet Group, which does a bunch of dating apps, social broadcasting apps. We've got Riot Games, which is huge in the gaming sphere. Mercari is one of the largest e-com platforms on the planet. And basically what those folks are doing, and many of our customers who are like them in those types of verticals, they all have similar challenges. Trust and safety is a pretty broad umbrella. I mean, for some folks that can mean spam and frauds. For some others, it might mean brand safety. And then for others, it might mean user safety related to, hate speech and harassment, cyberbullying. And so, what we've done a good job of is building out this library of, 40 plus behaviors that we can detect across many different given content types within text and voice. So whether it's usernames or search autocomplete, chat messages, posts, forums, comments, all that stuff we do a pretty good job about. But yeah, we've got 40 plus behaviors that we can deliver and detect for a customer. And then we have a patent pending approach on the way that we can do that across any given language on the fly. And that's been really effective for a lot of our customers who are super large, social platforms that operate across many different like regions and have many different languages. And it's typically a much better approach to scaling out how you might do, threat detection versus, hiring out a distributed, human-based kind of moderation team
Right.
that's flagging content.
Did you guys build your own AI engine for this, or did you get an open source one, or do you have a partner, or what?
Yeah, this is all in-house built. We've got an incredible technology and data science team here at the company. Again, as I was saying before, we've about half the company worked together before building out large-scale data infrastructures and machine learning applications for our last company or so. And so, yeah, we just got a tremendous amount of experience building that. But yeah, it's all in-house built. The beauty of what we've actually delivered for our clients is that, one of the things that's held back the industry is that for folks who were building algorithms for themselves, there's never been like a community-based approach to sharing knowledge and labeled data and infrastructure, or even models that have been built by some of the big guys so they can all collaborate and benefit from the collective moderated actions and research that everyone else has done. And that's really held the industry back from solving these problems at large in a consistent manner. And that's basically what we deliver to our customers. Is every single customer that comes on the platform gets to benefit from every other customer on the platform, as well as all the research and learnings that we've done over the past few years working with academia and nonprofits and researchers and that sort of thing. And so with each new customer that comes on board, it just further improves that network effect. And that's, I think, what a lot of social-based companies are looking for. They're looking for some mechanism that gets them around what is called the cold start problem in the AI world. Cold start problem meaning, you have great data scientists, but you don't have any training data to go out and reinforce the model and tune it to what you need. And so this gets any company around that whole challenge, where you can come to Spectrum, grab the models and the languages that you need off the shelf, and then we'll support you with a moderation dashboard and workflow around that if you also need that piece of the infrastructure. But yeah, it's been just a great positive experience for our customers and data science teams and moderation teams that have used Spectrum, either to give them coverage in languages and behaviors that they didn't have any expertise in or didn't have data in, or just to help improve their existing model work that they've been investing in for the last few years.
So you're building your own community, it sounds like. Are you working in cooperation with the open source community also, Apache and Linux and the Open Source Foundation up in Portland? Are you guys working with them and helping share this, or helping get companies to share?
Yeah, I mean, that's been part of the work that we've done. There's been several projects that we've open sourced. We wouldn't open source the data because we don't own that data necessarily. That's customer data and that's highly sensitive. But in terms of some of the approaches we've used to developing the infrastructure and the architecture, yeah, some of that stuff's been open sourced. I would love for you to chat with my CTO and co-founder. I'm sure he's got lots of thoughts on kind of the future of where that's headed. But yeah.
Good. Yeah, I used to be editor of Linux.com, and I come out of the open source area, so I work for the open.
It's important. It's important, right?
Yeah, it is.
It's important
The
initiative.
open source community is huge. We would, Justin, I don't think we would have the world we have today without open source software. We wouldn't. It would be a very vastly different world. So anyway, this is just the beginning. I want to come back and do a follow-up with you because there's a lot more I think we can talk about, and I want to touch on later. But we have kind of the end of the line right here. We got to turn it off. So I appreciate you, Justin Davis of Spectrum Labs, co-founder and CEO of Spectrum Labs in San Francisco. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Chris. Appreciate it.
And for everybody following along to the bitter end here, thank you very much. Have a great rest of your eWeek. Thanks for joining us on eWeek eSpeaks. Go to eWEEK.com to hear more conversations with IT thought leaders.